Hi folks, how's it going? It's James here and welcome to my Vinyl Tag 2019, and just going to get straight down to it, don't want to take too long over it. Best finds of 2019, I'm going to show 3 for this. I was absolutely delighted to find a copy of Graceland by Paul Simon, long been a favourite album of mine, and I found this one in Oxfam. Looks to be an original copy, it's got an original sticker on it, doesn't need too much introduction. This one I was blown away to find this. This is the Pink Fairies, who were a kind of cult heavy rock band from the 1960s. They featured the drumming talents of a guy called Twink, who went on to be in the last band that Syd Barrett ever performed in Cambridge. I'll talk about this a bit more in a subsequent Vinyl Finds video. And I was also really chuffed to find not 1 but 2 copies of Mighty Like a Rose by Elvis Costello. Okay, next, a cheap album that is really good. I'm going to roll that into the one with Best Dollar Bin Find. So this was from last year. I found this record in the wild, in a charity shop. It was actually £1.99, so it's as good as. We don't really have dollar bins in the UK, but we do have cheap bins. This is the Equals, and this is the band that Eddie Grant was in. They're a kind of bubblegum R&B, kind of a bit of funk, but mixed in with pop. Really nice, really just cheap and cheerful. You know, this is on MPL, and I really enjoyed that record, the Equals. And the other thing that I found last year, which viewers may remember, I did find this really cheaply. This is Goodbye Cream, which I found at the back of a box of absolute rubbish. I don't remember now what I paid for it, but it wasn't much. It was maybe £2, and it's not in perfect condition, but I was just absolutely over the moon to find it. Favourite side project album. This is a bit of a funny one. When Squeeze broke up in 1982, the main 2 songwriters and singers from the band, Glenn Tilbrook and Chris Difford, almost immediately got back together as a duo and recorded this album, Difford and Tilbrook, but it was a complete flop, and a couple of years later they got Squeeze back together. I've loved this album for many years. It's a flawed album. It was produced by Tony Visconti, and it has some rather naff string arrangements on it, and some of the musical settings don't do the songs justice, but there are some really great songs on this album. If you're a fan of Squeeze and you haven't heard this record, it's worth checking out, but you just have to bear in mind that it's not Squeeze, and it has, you know, it's slightly compromised by certain kind of 80s flourishes, but it's got some great stuff on it. So sort of a side project. It was them trying to do something after they thought that Squeeze was finished. It didn't really work out, so they got Squeeze back together, and the rest is history. A song from an artist that is uncharacteristic in their catalogue. I'm going to go with the Beatles for this one. I'm going to go with Wake Up My Love by George Harrison from the start of his album Gone Troppo, which is a really uncharacteristically 80s song full of very naff 80s synths. I actually like the song, and I even quite like the production, but it kind of jumps out at you on this album, because the rest of the album, even though it has a bit of 80s stuff going on, it isn't really kind of massively 80s, but that song does seem rather uncharacteristically synth driven for George, because George was not a fan of synthesizers and drum machines or anything like that. Last album you purchased? Well, that's lucky, because I've only just come back from the charity shop this morning and was delighted to get a copy of Get Rhythm by Ry Cooder. I'm trying to build the Ry Cooder collection. It's been going on for many years now. I've still only got about 6 of his albums. I pick them up as and when I see them, and they're a lot less common than they used to be. Ry Cooder albums used to be very common in charity shops, but no longer. A great album with a bad cover. This is a terrible cover, I think, for a really good album. This is George Harrison's Swan Song album, Brainwashed, which is a great album, but I think that's a truly hideous cover. I don't know whose idea it was to have black writing on a kind of dark red background, but it's just horrendous. A bad album with a great cover. Now, I don't want to offend anybody, and I'm quite dubious about calling anything a bad album. I'm going to go with, this was a disappointing album for me personally, given the cover. Barclay James Harvest and Octoberon, which does have a really nice cover, but I was rather underwhelmed by the music. I need to give it another try. but it seemed to be quite kind of, I don't know, it just seemed quite bland to me. But I've only given it a couple of spins, so I need to revisit it. So yes, I'm not saying it's a bad album, I'm just saying that given how great the cover is, or how nice the cover is, I was expecting something a bit more kind of psychedelic, a bit more exciting, and it wasn't. Okay, a blues album. I'm going to go with one of my favourites. This is Blind Willie McTell, and this is on Yazoo. Wonderful finger-picking guitarist, 12-string player, absolutely fantastic. Big influence on Bob Dylan and lots of other people. Acoustic blues, you know. Okay, an Earworm Song. I'm going to go for the song The Sinking Feeling, which comes from the album Soul Mining. And Matt Johnson had a wonderful way of writing very convoluted lyrics that express quite complex themes and emotions, but doing it in a kind of earworm style. And there's a great hook in this song where he sings the line, "I'm just a symptom of the moral decay that's gnawing at the heart of the country." And you know, if you were to see that written down and your job was to turn that into a pop hook, you would probably panic. But he does a great job of it, and he does turn it into a very memorable little catchy hook, which just shows what a genius he was, really. So yeah, that's the and the album Soul Mining. Okay, an historically important artist. I haven't seen anybody show this yet, but I haven't got round to watching all the tags yet, so maybe somebody has. Going to go with Aretha Franklin, who we lost last year, the Queen of Soul. Don't need to say too much about why she was important. And yeah, what a shame, Aretha. Right, an album you own because of your parents. Okay, so this is actually the copy that my parents owned. This is Simon and Garfunkel, bought as a gift for my mother by my father in, I think, probably the year it came out. And this is one of the records that I remember hearing as a child when I was growing up. My dad didn't like much pop music, he only liked about 4 or 5 things, and this was one of them. And my parents and we used to sit and listen to this in the living room, and I've got really strong memories. I can even date it. I can date it back to 1977. It's a long story as to how I can date it, but I can. And you know, the actual song Bridge Over Troubled Water, I just so deeply associate that with my parents and just being at home. And yeah, I mean, you know, what a wonderful record to have that memory of, because you know, the music seems to evoke that kind of aura of nostalgia and warm feeling. Home and Hearth. Okay, favourite double album. I'm going to go with Todd Rundgren, Something Anything, which has the most wonderful gatefold in the history of recorded music. This was the album that he largely recorded on his own, and that was a picture of him in his little home studio. And really great record. 3 sides, which is just him on his own, and then a 4th side where he finally gets a band on board. And it's a great sprawling mess of an album. It's not completely without its faults. There are kind of high moments and slightly less high moments, but it's still a great album, and in my opinion a collection cornerstone. An album you learned of from the VC. So I'm going to go with 2 for this. This was a gift, or was it a contest prize or a gift? Well, it was a gift if it was a contest prize or not. This came from Tommy Burton, and it's I think it was the debut album by Marshall Crenshaw, somebody that I knew nothing about at all. I heard various people talking about him on the VC, including Tommy, and then I won his contest and he was kind enough to send this. So yeah, great, really great album. Sharp songwriting, clever stuff. Marshall Crenshaw. And the other one I want to just quickly talk about is The Cult. Thanks to Graham Watson. Obviously I knew about the Cults back in the day, but I'd never listened to them really, and Graham has been so passionate about them over the years on the vinyl community. He's talked about, you know, he made a big long video about them which was very good, and it forced me finally to go out and pick up a copy of this record. And I wasn't sure about it at first. I thought it was maybe a little bit AC/DC light. It strongly reminds me of the Power Age era of AC/DC, but I've listened to it quite a few times since then, and it's definitely grown on me. So yeah, The Cult, I'm going to say that is a really good VC discovery in the last couple of years. Okay, a 10-inch record. I think this is 10-inch. This is my Supergrass compilation. Supergrass is 10, which I bought many years ago, and I think it's worth quite a bit now. All the badges on the cover. And what's good about it actually is that it's not just a 10-inch record, but it's a clear vinyl 10-inch record as well. So yeah, the much missed Supergrass, possibly my favourite band of the 90s, maybe. I might have to qualify that later on. A 7-inch record. I'm going to go with a favourite from when I was a kid. This is Right Said Fred and The Hole in the Ground. Not the original version. The original version was sung by Bernard Cribbins, the very well known and well loved British comedy actor. This was a cover version, and I'm not sure who sang it. It's just a great pair of songs, you know, children's songs, and yeah, that takes me straight back to my childhood. There's the surprise, surprise EMI label. Yeah. Check that out on YouTube. Right Said Fred is good. I think The Hole in the Ground is even better. No, second to last, we're going to have albums that make you fall asleep. Now, I don't generally put a record or a CD on in order to fall asleep, but I have been known to fall asleep to music. I've picked this one because I actually did go through a phase of falling asleep to it, and it was actually annoying me because I wanted to listen to the album. This is Hejira by Joni Mitchell, and it was only last year, and I kind of went through a phase. It was all during 1 week, and I wanted to get to know the record, but I could only get to my record player in the evening, and I put it on, and I kept falling asleep to it. And there was one evening when I did it about 3 times. I put it on, headphones on, fell asleep, woke up, put the record back to the start, headphones on, fell asleep. Happened 3 times in one sitting. Now, maybe it's because the album is boring. I don't think it is. It's just something about the music it was just very lulling. But I need to go back to it and maybe listen to it first thing in the morning. So that's Hejira by Joni. And then the final one I'm going to go for is If I Could Only Remember My Name by David Crosby, which was a gift from Tommy Burton. And I haven't fallen asleep to this record, but it strikes me as being a good one to fall asleep to. It's very floaty and very ambient. Thank you, Tommy. Superb. Right, okay, the final question. Favourite VC experience or advice for those contemplating making a video? I think most of the guys from England who've done the tag so far have mentioned the VC meetup or the meetups that we've done. So I'm going to go with that. That was just a really amazing experience. I want to throw it back to John Bellamy as well, because he said he particularly enjoyed the day he spent with me up here in the northwest. So that was a truly great day, John. I loved that, and I think overall my favourite VC experience overall is just that act of sharing, and this kind of goes into this advice about people who want to make videos. I think most people have said some variant on this, and that is just do it. You know, don't have any doubts about it, just kind of jump in and do it. I uploaded a video to my Beatles channel, and it was just basically just me sat in the car talking about how much I really enjoyed the Beatles film Let It Be, which had been uploaded to YouTube. And after I made the video, I ummed and ahed a little bit about whether to post it or not, because I thought, who cares? You know, who wants to listen to me sat in my car saying I really love this film? But I did decide to put it up, and I just got a load of really, really positive reactions to that video with people saying, oh, you know, it's great that you enjoyed it. And it's that kind of thing where you think, well, you could second guess yourself and just not put it up there, and then you realise the reason to put it up there is simply to share something that you have enjoyed, whether that be a film or whether it be a record. And it's just so positive when people respond nicely to that and supportively, you know. So yeah, I would just say kind of do it. Right, that's it. Hope that's not been too long or tedious for you. I shall take my leave, and I haven't got around watching everybody's tags yet. I'm still working on that one. So take care, folks. See you soon, and bye-bye.